All right, let's ring the bell, y'all. Welcome to Ringside right now. I am your host, Pierre. And of course, I'm with the crew as always. We got Calvin, Clint, Curtis, and Jonathan. And we're just five marks that love to talk about everything currently going on in wrestling, as well as the past and present of this business we love. And before we get started, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell just so you know when we drop new video content. And also be sure to check out our other videos as well. So we're going to dedicate this video to talking about AEW and their current booking. There's been some things about their booking that we're really not sure about as far as with Tony Khan doing any and everything. So we're going to go harken back to Dynamite that just went down. And, the first segment actually had the quote unquote four pillars of AEW coming out. So basically, Jungle Boy came out first, interrupted by Sammy Guevara, then interrupted by Darby Allin. And basically, this is just to set up, they each one claiming, you either jerk off or you're selfish, blah, blah, blah. And basically led to MJF coming out and basically saying, we're going to have a tournament to see who's going to face me at the next pay per view. And of course, he brought out a hat to see who was going to have a bye in this tournament, and which Darby Allin got. And so the main event for the night was actually Jungle Boy Jack Perry versus Sammy Guevara. So what do you guys think about that first segment? Do you think that maybe it should have been done a little differently?
All right, so the purpose of this show is to talk about the booking and what's going wrong with AEW. And ironically enough, the first thing we talk about is one of the few things that's going right. Anything involving MJF on the mic works right now. MJF is gold on the mic. He makes any segment work. This whole segment setting up the feud with the four pillars and leading to Double or Nothing in the main event match. This worked out fine. It was a good start to the show. You hype going in. Okay, good AEW Dynamite coming up. And I wish the rest of the show was this good. As far as the direction of the storyline.
Like you said, you can't go wrong with anything that MJF does on the mic. He knows how to give you that nuclear heat. Now, I'm still kind of questioning, okay, what's the point of giving someone a bye instead of, I don't know, perhaps maybe a triple threat down the line, because you want to give them all a chance and at least and have interactions going forward, letting them know, okay, I should be the one. No, I should be one, or I'm going to one. Who's got the momentum going forward, going into this pay-per-view? And I feel like the idea of a tournament, I mean, you had the right idea, but it just seemed like something's missing from it.
Yeah, I got to kind of agree with that. Like, this is going to come from the perspective of a more, I'll say, casual wrestling fan. I haven't been staying on top of AEW as much lately, and so I'm trying to see it from that perspective and what they're trying to do here, what they should be doing, and that's setting up the next big event, selling those tickets over in London, and getting butts and seats. But what you're seeing is, MJF, he's amazing on the mic. I'll pay good money to get him to watch him get beat up all day, every day. But what you really need to have is FaceTime and camera time for these people. If these are going to be the four big pillars, there shouldn't be a bye. But all of them need to be in action in some way or form to showcase what they can do, because I think, as we'll probably get into more later, the biggest issue with AEW is they have a super large, very deep, diverse roster, but they don't have enough TV time to really get them all to showcase what they can do. So the matches are very rushed, tight, and so I think they missed a good opportunity to have Darby Allin, who is amazing to watch on TV, not actually be wrestling on TV.
Good point.
What do you think, Jonathan?
Pretty much agree with all that stuff. You guys pretty much took everything I was going to say. So
I think it's interesting. I mean, granted, MJF did kind of save the promo deal as far as Jungle Boy still wasn't that strong promo wise on the mic. And maybe you're seeing hints of a Darby possible turn just based on the interaction between him and Darby. So maybe that might lead to, something going on possibly with Sammy going on to take on MJF for the title, and then putting something between Jungle Boy and Darby Allin to where maybe Darby could be more of the heelish, if I guess you want to call it that. But you guys are definitely spot on. It's like I mean, there's opportunities there, but we still feel like, eh, it's not quite where we want it to be to fully buy into it like they want us to buy into it.
Yeah.
So moving on, the next segment action was the tag team match with the AEW Women's Champ Jamie Hayter teamed up with Britt Baker taking on the Outcasts, Ruby Soho and Tony Storm with Saraya in the corner, and solid match by the ladies with Britt Baker putting on the lockjaw on Soho and getting the win. The see what they want to do with the Outcast, but I'm really sure. I mean, I am what they're doing with Britt Baker and versus the Outcast and trying to bring Jamie Hayter into it, but I don't know. What do you guys feel about that particular match and that build up or the
I
segment
definitely
overall?
want to speak on that. So first and foremost, let me say the match was great. None of my complaints about AEW have to do with the talent per se. They're all doing their job in the ring. They're working their ass off. They're putting on great matches. My complaints aren't about the talent at all. It's just about the booking. Now, that being said, I would have changed the finish. I understand because they're in Britsburg and they're trying to, please the hometown crowd. Mom and dad are there and all of her friends and family, and they want to give Britt Baker a win. But to do it and sacrifice the Outcast for that kills the Outcast momentum, because this is supposed to be your female NWO/DX Invader group that's supposed to be a threat to the women's division, and you just throw them out there and they lose, and that kills the momentum. Okay, so they're not a threat anymore. Granted, they did something later in the show, which we'll get to, but they're not a threat if you can just simply pin them in the ring and that's it. I would have given a DQ finish. I would have put the Outcast over, let them win, or better yet, don't put Britt and Jamie against them to begin with. The Outcasts could have not been in that match at all. Britt and Jamie could have fought any other two women on the entire roster. And then you save the Outcasts for later. There was no need for the Outcasts to lose this match.
I agree, and I want to add this as far as the whole Britsburg thing. This is basically the same sad song. It's like every time they go to Pittsburgh, they got to do something for Britt Baker. No offense to her, because she's one of the best talent, the absolute best talent in their women's division. Not to mention one of the absolute sweetest people ever, because a few of us got to meet her. But like you said, there's really no need to. We're basically burying the Outcasts, which, like you said, they're supposed to be that big stable. But if you're not getting them wins, if you're not getting them over, then what's the point of having them there?
Yeah, I mean, I get why they do the Brickberg thing. She is extremely over there, and AEW, if nothing else, they're going to cater to their fans. But again, any other opponent.
Yeah, you can also cater to the fans without necessarily having that happen every time, because there was actually a time in other promotions, WWE actually does this more often than most, but I know this is we're talking AEW's booking, but more often than not, whenever we have a homecoming, that normally meant something was going to happen to that hometown person to put over somebody.
Yeah, to get them heat, exactly. And what better heat would there have been for Britt to lose in Pittsburgh to the Outcast?
Yeah. You got to build up to a payoff. The payoff can't be tonight every single night. It has to be, oh, they lose in their hometown. Ruby and team, the Outcast, get super heat off of it and energy, and they can move that on and progress and be a real threat. I said the last time I was watching the AEW and saw Ruby when she first debuted, I swear even back then she was losing matches. Like I really want her to look like a threat, and the only way to do that is to win matches. And you don't have to have the strongest, most popular, most over people win all the time. They do have to rub some of the lower or other talent so they get pushed up and bumped up as well. So it looks like an actual competition here.
Go for that lockjaw here, guys. They got the glove on. Here we go. Ruby picked out. She turns her stomach. Britt Baker sees it on it. The lockjaw. Locked in. Yes, happened.
Winners of this match by submission, the team of the AEW Women's World Champion Jamie Hayter and Dr. Britt Baker, TNT.
Just her solo or her and Jamie against like Rio, Isla Rose, and somebody, and have the Outcasts come in and beat them down or something during the match and
Exactly.
finish or something. And yeah, her getting beat down would be incredible heat for the Outcasts.
Well, there was a beat down later in the show.
Yeah, so maybe
Yeah. So we'll get to that. But yeah, there wasn't a need for
that
that.
didn't make sense to me either, but we'll get to that one.
Curtis, you had a point you ought to make before we move on?
Yeah, what I also wanted to, I was just basically going to harp onto that, but Jonathan basically added to that, so we can actually pick up from that point.
Okay. The next segment we had was Renee Paquette basically interviewing Warlow backstage in the preparation for his TNT title match with Powerhouse Hobbs, and he mentioned that he was going to bring somebody out with him, and it turned out to be Arn Anderson. I think Arn is a good fit for Warlow if you're going to maintain that as opposed to just maybe a few weeks or things like that. What do you guys think about that?
I got no problem with that. I was actually wondering where Arn was since Cody left. So that part of the whole Warlow situation I have no issue with. The parts I have problems with, we'll get to that in a second.
We'll definitely get to it, but Arn Anderson, you can never go wrong with him as a manager or a coach, as they once did with Cody. But we were wondering where he's been, but if you give that guy a chance, he's going to be one of those tough love kind of guys who's going to talk trash to you. If you're slipping, he's going to let you know about it. He's like, oh, so this is what you were. You're this big deal. You call yourself the ultimate team. Don't make me laugh. Then next thing you know, you're waking up and you're going back and kicking butt again. So he's that kind of manager. I'm looking forward to it. I was happy to see that.
Yeah, if I see Arn Anderson managing someone, I'm expecting that person to be like in the world title picture. So kind of going back to the opening segment, it's kind of weird that there weren't any of like the physically larger guys that were in there, like the top four. You know, MJF is amazing in the ring, great on the mic. The other guys have a very unique, cool looking style, but they are smaller dudes. And so just thinking like, this man probably wouldn't go for that. I just think it's strange that they're pushing Wardlow by having Arn with him. That's great. When's he getting in that world title picture?
Wasn't he in the world title picture at one time? Didn't he? Wasn't he going to fight for the world title or no?
I don't think he's gotten that far yet.
I think they were pushing toward that direction, but they never officially put him in a program for the title.
Yeah.
I think Arn being with him is a good thing for him because Arn could be his mouthpiece and gives him some credit. Not the world credibility, but
I will say he should be in the world title picture. So, well, we'll get to that. He should be.
And he'd like just somewhere and disappear, and then he came back, and he's a 3-time. I almost said 24/7 champion because that's kind of how I feel about the TNT title now. It's kind of like potato.
We're definitely getting to the booking of that title, but yeah.
Wardlow's is. I mean, again, here we go. We talk about these guys. Wardlow he could be a world champion. I could see the world without even hesitating. It's just like
he is. Go ahead,
he
Josh,
probably needs to build up you're fine. He probably needs to build it up a little bit longer, but he's got the body and the charisma, and he's over with the crowd. So, I don't really see. Honestly, maybe they should have put him in that tournament to fight MJF just for, if nothing else, a swerve or whatever. The other 4 guys, but he's not one of the pillars, so that doesn't make sense. But we are talking about the things that don't make sense in W. So, but Sean Spears was in there too, so maybe swap the 2 of them out or something. I don't know. So,
I mean, we'll see how this plays out over time, but it's a good fit if they stick with it. That's the key thing. You have to stick with that. You can't just stick them with them and then 2 months down the line get rid of them.
Yeah.
Question
Because,
is, does Arn still have his Waffle House card with him? Remember that card he used to have? That was a Waffle House menu, I think. Actually.
he knows he
I
might
forgot
have
all
that.
about that.
But remember that thing he used to show? Yeah, I think that was a Waffle House menu for real, actually.
It may be.
Go ahead.
Now the next segment we actually have the Elite, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks come out and basically cutting a promo against the Blackpool Combat Club. And with Kenny basically saying, "Hey, let's just go ahead and lock up in the ring, do it 1-on-1." Then of course Daniel Bryan comes out, and well, nothing doesn't come out. He actually just appears on the screen, and just kind of a distraction. Next thing you know, the rest of the Blackpool Combat Club attack the Elite from behind. And then Callis wants to come out, acts like he wants to do something. He changes his mind. He goes to the back and bring out, I apologize if I butchered the name, Takeshita out to help even things out, even after Daniel Bryan comes out. So that's an interesting turn. And I have idea what I think may happen. I know a couple other people online have kind of had the same thing. To me, I feel like Callis is going to turn, take Takeshita with him to join the Blackpool Combat Club to now be the mouthpiece that Regal was. And now this can maybe allow for Cowboy Adam Page to officially join the Elite, at least on screen. And then now you have an 8-man that could go on. So, fellas, what do you think about that?
Well, my question is, why is Takeshita even in the storyline? Callis coming out and pretending like he's going to help and then back cowering down. That was kind of funny. But I was expecting Hangman to come out. The big idea is Hangman's back with the Elite, and he was nowhere to be found. Why was he not there? And why are we getting Takeshita involved anyway? Takeshita should be doing his own thing. Why is he involved in this story?
Didn't Hangman get a screwdriver in his eyeball?
He did.
Oh, I forgot about that. Okay.
The injury, yeah, the injury aspect. So to
fought-
sell that.
Yeah, Takeshita fought Danielson at one time, didn't he? That's the only tie that I could see that they used him. And I'm with you. I think Callis is going to swerve. Something's going to happen.
Well, yeah, he is. They've been, building to that for a while, especially since the Bucks got jumped.
To bridge the Gold Club. The Gold Club. Sorry, that's something totally different. Bullet Club Gold. Excuse me. Sorry. The Bullet Club Gold to the Elite or something. Maybe they get Jay White and Juice involved in all this somehow. But who knows? We'll see what happens.
Yeah. So what I was going to say is, as far as Bryan Danielson on the mic, he's pretty good. He's underrated on the mic. He's never been known for being one of the best on the mic, but you can't really go wrong, especially as a heel. And I've actually enjoyed every time it's like, let's say, Blackpool Combat Club's beating up someone, and next thing you know, he's just coming out slow saunter, talking trash about, like, you're not professional wrestlers, you're amateurs, fickle, all that stuff. I actually like it.
Well, like I said, the talent isn't the issue. It's the storyline. Where the hell is the storyline going?
Exactly. And I was getting to that. But the point now, this is where I kind of had an issue. Okay, you have Don Callis coming out. I've never really been a fan of him, but he comes out. Okay, I got this chair. I'm gonna, and then of course, he cowers back. Of course, you got 3 of the baddest people on the planet ready to take you out, and you just got a chair, and you have to bend over to get into the ring or even slide into it. So I get that. But then Takeshita, and I apologize if I butchered his name. Again, where does he fit into the equation?
It doesn't make any sense to me. The storyline.
Yeah, he's the random out of all this.
Yeah. And it's a random that makes no sense, like, at all. Just have the beat down. Yeah.
I don't know. That would have made more sense.
If the random was like somebody from the past, like let's say probably Eric Rowan, for example, I'm just making somebody up. That would have actually made some sense because he has some ties, he has some connection, but there's nothing there.
or somebody from New Japan like Okada or something, or Tanahashi, anybody, somebody that Omega wrestled maybe respects him.
Yeah,
something.
someone with a connection to the elite or the Blackpool Combat Club, either one.
You think, Calvin?
I mean, about the same. Like, I'm just trying to figure out sometimes, like, why the people that are in the ring together. I wasn't sure if it was something I had just missed, or even if you have been, like, maybe watching more, be able to stay up more than I've been able to, that, it just made sense. Like, the AEW will occasionally have, like, I used to make fun of WWE for this, constant, here's what happened last week or on last Raw or 2 months ago, to kind of remind you of what's going on over and over again. So you know what's happening when you see it in the ring. AEW has that same thing. They'll show you a recap of what happened previously. The guy in the ring will say, roll that beautiful bean footage, and they'll play what happened previously. If you can't do that with a segment as you're booking it, if there's no continuity, there's no reason, you probably should rethink the booking of that segment.
You know what? The Bush's baked bean guy makes about as much sense as Takeshita does.
I would actually love to see that guy like in the ring. That would actually be pretty
It'd be
cool.
awesome to see him get dropped on his head by Moxley.
Oh my.
Yeah. But again, like I said before, if they could stick with this to make it make sense down the line, as opposed to maybe a sudden drop off, barring an injury, of course, because we know injuries could always, change a booking and a storyline completely. But if everybody stays healthy, it'll be interesting to see down the line where this could actually turn out to. But we'll, as with all things, with booking, we'll see in time.
I've got a question.
So
the next pay-per-view Double or Nothing? Is that the next one?
I
Yeah.
believe it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the next one.
Like
That's in Vegas. So yeah. So this is what they're building up to in Vegas, but maybe they're kind of pre-looking beyond just Double or Nothing and actually on to the Wembley show.
They still got 2 more pay-per-views. So. Who knows?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Go ahead.
We're good. Go ahead.
Okay. Now the next segment, we actually had the TNT Championship match. Powerhouse Hobbs with QT Marshall in his corner, taking on Warlow, who had R. Anderson in his corner. Of course, it's typical with, as we like to say, 2 big meaty men slapping meat type of match. With Warlow actually coming out with the win with a little bit of help. QT tried to interfere, and then Penta came out, which, when QT got out of the ring after Arn threatened him with a gun, fingers pow pow, if you will. And then he ran into a nice DDT from Arn, even at his age. I was still impressed that it was a nice DDT. But overall, Warlow winning the TNT Championship, becoming a 3-time champ. What do you guys think about that, especially since they spent a lot of time building back Hobbs back up with the Book of Hobbs and everything, and then gave him a short title reign as TNT champ, just to turn it back over to Warlow? I understand Warlow's, I think he's also from the area as well, if I'm not mistaken, from Pittsburgh. I could be wrong in that. But so, or they just used the fact that he was so over with the crowd that they put the title on him. But what do you guys think about that booking?
I'm just gonna say,
Go ahead, Curtis.
I'm just gonna say that that's pointless, because that's another thing AEW once got on WWE about it. It's the hot potatoing, if you will, on titles. Like you said, you're building and building and building Powerhouse Hobbs back up to be this dangerous monster, and then what do? 2 weeks later, he drops the belt. Are you kidding me? I mean, I've had some criticisms of Powerhouse Hobbs, but he's actually gotten better, especially with his promos. Now, again, nobody's going to accuse him of being the best guy on the mic, but he was definitely credible. Now, you could have done a safe finish to keep the belt on him, but now you just basically just wasted all of that time building the guy up just because Arn Anderson, no disrespect to him, decides to be the manager. And I love a good DDT as much as anybody. And yeah, like you said, at his age, incredible. But you could have done something else to keep that rivalry going and extend it over to the next pay-per-view.
Exactly. Now,
Okay, go ahead.
you can go ahead because I got so many questions about this match.
While we're talking about ridiculous booking, okay, they build Hobbs up to be a monster, right? And then they stick him in this TMZ gimmick with QT and the Funky Bunch.
Oh my God! Don't even get me started with that.
I met QT Marshall's a really nice guy anyway. But he's just kind of out there too, like floating on an island and just appears out of nowhere. And to me, the TNT title has become like, I mean, it just goes back and forth. I mean, how many times has Darby had it or Sammy had it, or just like here that's a belt that I would put on people that don't really need a belt or need a belt with anybody else. And Hobbs, they give him the belt and he's like, all right, great. He's finally going to get a push, and only to just take it right back away from him. That doesn't make any sense to me.
So,
and I think he should have been built up to be a monster heel rather than be put with this group with Aaron Solo and this woman and doing these TMZ these vignettes that are just ridiculously dumb.
Enterprise is like losing horn.
Yeah, exactly. So it just doesn't make any sense. And Warlow, I have no problem with that guy winning because he's over with the crowd. His body's incredible. He gets it. He's a future star. He might be a star now. I think he's a future world champion. But like Clinton's been saying all night, it's not the talent, because I think Powerhouse Hobbs is incredibly talented.
Absolutely.
Warlow too.
I think they take the Computron 3000, the Lanny Paffa computer, they just beat on it, and whatever it spits out on the ticket night's matches.
No, they take the Vince Russo computer and beat on it.
Let's say, bro. Go ahead.
So one, why was this guy's title run so short? Two, what was the Book of Hobbs all about? We did weeks of vignettes over this Book of Hobbs, and he brought it out twice, and then he wins the title, and then we just forget about it with no explanation of what it was about, what's in it, because they immediately jumped from the Book of Hobbs gimmick to the QTV gimmick. Why was this match not done on pay-per-view? Let this guy have a killer title run where he's just destroying people left and right. And if, let's say, a double or nothing, Wardlow wins it back, but even then it looks stupid because he doesn't really get any real time with it. And why was Penta there?
I was about to get into that.
So Orange said, I brought you back up, but I mean, he might as well have brought Takeshita out again. It was just the most random thing. So is Hobbs going to feud with Penta now, or what the hell is going on here? It's just so confusing.
With QT, if I'm not mistaken, that Penta and QT maybe have something going on.
What? What, is something on Dark that I missed?
Maybe it was Dark Elevation 2.27.
Oh Lord!
I watched this match and I had more questions than entertainment. I sat there just scratching my head going, why is this happening? Why is this happening? Why is this not happening?
Maybe they needed to put Hobbs in the Bullet Club. He might get a excuse me. He might get a rub out of that. Anyway, I'm with you. Yeah, I didn't understand.
But here's the thing: if they push him right, he doesn't need the Bullet Club. If they push him right, he's a monster on his own.
I agree.
It's true. That's true.
Yeah.
And Penta made 0 sense to me either.
Yeah, Penta 0 cents.
Did Ray come out with him, or was it just Penta?
It was just Penta and Alejandro.
0 cents, if you ask me. I don't know what sense makes in Spanish.
Yeah, you got anything to say about this?
I guess like Penta kind of makes sense to me. I didn't know like the storyline reason behind it, but I'm looking at these two massive dudes in the ring. You got Hobbs, you got Wardlow. These are two giant dudes. Like, how is anybody else in that, business going to be back up and help you when you're fighting a giant? Penta kind of makes sense because Penta has the whole no fear thing. He doesn't care. So, I mean, I guess that kind of works,
but he has no dog in his fight. That's what I'm saying. Unless they made a deal where he's going to get a title shot down the line, and that's more something heels generally do.
So yeah, but I think generally with the TNT title, like I want that to be like the old school Intercontinental title. I need to have there needs to be like a really like storied run with it, and you can't do that if you're constantly just passing the belt back and forth. So hopefully they do like kind of just pick something and pick someone to really drive it forward and have that be like the developmental, up and coming, real good wrestling belt that the Intercontinental title should be.
The workhorse title.
Yes.
When
To
it
really make
first
it worthwhile.
when it first came out, that was kind of how it was when Cody had his open challenges and
Right.
Yeah.
Brody Lee wrestled. They had an incredible match, and then Brody Lee had it. And, unfortunately, Brody Lee passed away. But it seems like they kind of went away from that. Now it's just kind of like, let's just bounce it around like a bouncing ball. Like, who's you get a title, and you get a title, and you get a title.
Just like a bad bootleg version of the TV title.
Yeah,
Oh,
It shouldn't
it's
be a
not
TV
good. I
title.
mean,
It should be like an Intercontinental.
I agree. Yeah,
And another thing, so after this match, is this where Luchasaurus came out?
it was.
Yeah.
yeah, to basically
Oh.
challenge
Okay,
Warlow after the fact.
okay,
Yes.
okay. So why? I mean, okay, okay. Here's the thing. They say wins and losses in AEW matter. This guy hadn't wrestled a while. He hadn't done anything to earn a TNT title shot. Here's what they could have done. So you have your vignette with Christian Cage and the new improved Luchasaurus, and he's going to come out and destroy everyone, blah, blah, blah. Actually wrestle some matches. Come out and destroy some guys for a few weeks, and then try to challenge for a title.
Make it too much.
Don't. I guess I am. He just comes out and asks for a title. He's supposed to get it against Warlow. Okay, no. Generate
also-
some interest.
Go ahead.
Here's the thing. You do that, and then when Luchasaurus comes out and challenges Warlow, then the fans go, oh man, here's a threat. There's no threat because we haven't seen you do anything.
When's the last
Never.
months ago?
And I'm still stuck on the fact that he was heel at one point, but then he turned on Christian, and then next thing you know, about a good couple of months later, he turns back on Jungle Boy.
Yeah, it was like a swerve on top of a swerve.
Like, where's the point of that? Where's the sense in that?
Yeah, granted, the payoff with Luchasaurus had with Jungle Boy was a nice payoff, but it was kind of like Luchasaurus is gone for so long. I understand the whole he's back, he wants to challenge, and we have seen this type of thing in WWE before, where we did have someone randomly challenge for a title, but at the same time, I see where they maybe could have done like, say Warlow had a couple of, well, whoever's the champ. Let's say Warlow we still put the belt on Warlow. He's had a few matches, and say Luchasaurus starts interfering in these matches to the point to where now he's like, you know what, I'm tired of you interfering. I want a match, and then of course Luchasaurus says, hey, if you're gonna get a match, you need to put something up. I need that title. Maybe something to that effect. Yes, we've seen it before, but at least we feel it's a better build up than this a random, hey, I want the title belt.
But sometimes simpler is better. You don't even have to have the interference. Just have him go out and win some matches.
When's the last time he once, hasn't it?
I don't even remember. But that's how they built Warlow up. He just went out and wrestled guys and powerbombed the crap out of him, and he's over. I like Warlow. Well, you have Luchasaurus go out and chokeslam, some guys to hell, and then he's a credible threat. Then you have him come out and challenge for the belt. Makes sense. It's simple, but it works. You don't have to have anything overcomplicated.
That is true. But again, we'll kind of say, and maybe it might lead to an eventual, triple threat match. You got two powerhouses, and Luchasaurus is a powerhouse, but he's an agile powerhouse as well. And of course, Warlow in the match did like a whisper in the wind type move too. So, it could possibly lead to some good matches if they book it right. But that's the main thing we've been having. Things haven't been booked right. So
the matches aren't the issue, it's the booking of the matches. Why
exactly.
do I want to see this match? Why should I pay to see this match?
Two of them have never even interacted that I know of.
Yeah.
They have. And that's a point where I believe we're going to be repeating all the time. It's like, thankfully, nobody has to take a shot, nor we have to pay anybody every time we say the booking is the issue.
Like those Marvel comics.
Right.
What if Warlow wrestled Luchasaurus? Like, what?
Yeah, that's kind of what it feels like. That it's kind of that Tony Khan is playing a
Choose your own
what if
adventure.
game
Choose your own
and
adventure.
actually playing it out.
Choose page 2 if you want to see Warlow wrestle Hobbs. Choose page 1 if you want to see Luchasaurus.
That's called mark booking.
Choose your own booking, if you will.
That's
choose your own-
mark booking. That's not large company on a national television program booking. That's mark booking.
Like a deal. What's behind door number 2? It's Warlow versus Luchasaurus.
One of those old Nintendo books. If you think Link should fight Ganon, go to page 14.
Yeah, the choose your own adventure books. Yeah.
Oh.
So once again, I am offering you a main event spot in a pay-per-view that you have never been in before for the world title, the grandest prize of them all. And I'm also offering you a blank check with your name on it. You write down any number you want, and I know you're not going to hold me over a barrel. I know you're going to be fair here. I know you're not going to go crazy. Did you say Greece? He said Greece, didn't he? It's okay, Greece. Greece isn't that expensive. Is Greece that expensive? Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. Is this seriously your price, man?
That's my price.
Okay. You've got yourself a deal.
Max, friends don't shake hands. Friends hug.
Friends? Okay, cool.
Looked like a fair price to me. Guys, back to you.
Moving on to the next segment for the night in Dynamite, we actually had Renee Paquette backstage interviewing Sammy Guevara about the match later on. And when MJF comes in, basically offers Sammy, an instant way to get to Double or Nothing for the title, but basically offering for him to lay down. And MJF offered him a check, and Sammy wrote a nice number on it. MJF decided to pay it, and of course, Sammy wanted to hug it out. What do you guys think about this random buildup that might, that's involving the 4 pillars, but could possibly lead to something that I think most everyone sees as far as a swerve coming for Sammy actually turning on MJF if, in fact, they decide to book them for the title?
I had no problem with it. Again, anything with MJF on the mic is great. When he came, I said, Spanish guy, Arriba. I actually chuckled a little bit. It's heels doing heel stuff. They have to remind us, even though Sammy gives these great passionate promos about wanting to be world champion, he is a heel. He is a jerk. He is an asshole. Not as much of a jerk as MJF. I don't think anyone can top him, but he is a heel, and heels are going to do heel things. So, I don't have a problem with it. I actually enjoyed the segment, and I enjoyed the little story they're putting in it. So I don't have any problem with that.
That's one of the few things that Tony Khan, as far as booking, is actually doing right. Hey, heels are going to heel. And that's like Eddie Guerrero trying to, let's say, probably outfox the Miz. And I'm just using a random heel, by the way. But it's like, you already know what's coming.
I mean, it's not overcomplicated booking. That's what I love about it. You got 3 guys who are all trying to get an opportunity at the heel champion, and one of these guys is the heel. So, of course, the heel champion is going to take advantage. I can't corrupt Jungle Boy because he's too good. I can't corrupt Darby Allin because he's too good. I can corrupt Sammy because he's the bad guy. He's a heel. So he's going to try to get one over on Sammy, and Sammy being a heel is going to try to get one over on MJF.
Sometimes the
not,
beauty is in its simplicity.
Exactly. It's a simple storyline. It's realistic.
Yeah,
and I just want to finish up. Now, like I said, I'm looking forward to it, and what could come out of it, and how will the faces respond?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the few things that makes sense on the show. Anything with Jeff is gold. I mean, he can just go out there and read the phone book, and he would be an a-hole about it. It would be good. But yeah, you
can see that.
Yeah, you obviously see what's coming. Is he and Sam are going to butt heads? I mean, there's no doubt about that. We were talking earlier about maybe I think Jungle Boy has to stay a face. I can't see him being a heel.
Oh, no.
I can see Darby being a heel though. I can see that face turn. Maybe him turning on Sting or something eventually. You wanted to do that, but Sammy's a heel right now. He's still with Jericho, I guess, in that group. And yeah. So he and MJF are obviously going to butt heads later. Maybe that's your title match, which would be a great match, I'm sure. Sammy's very talented.
Exactly. Calvin?
I like a good heel versus heel component. So them just kind of reminding us he's still a bad guy. It just adds like an extra little oomph to the whole storyline. So it just adds another possibility of what could happen. So, I like it.
Yeah, it again, it's one of those things that I believe the payoff as we see down the line where we get Sammy and MJF feuding, but also like mentioning the Jungle Boy and Darby feuding at some point, where I think those imagine who knows, they may throw up a swerve and Darby somehow makes it to Double or Nothing to face MJF for the title. Who knows? They it could be so simplistic that they might want to switch it up to make it complicated at the end. But that's if they decide to switch the booking around as opposed to maybe keeping it on the path that it's in, which most of people want to see when you book. Let the story play out. Don't just switch it up in the middle just because of XYZ.
Yeah.
So it'll definitely be interesting to see what happens there. Next, we had Switchblade Jay White with Juice Robinson in the corner taking on Commander. And of course, Sean Spears is randomly, there. Oh, maybe not so randomly on a ringside watching the match. And of course, Jay White does pick up the win. And then we have Juice Robinson actually attacks Sean Spears. Then I know where Ricky Starks comes out to help out, gives a nice spear to Juice Robinson, even with the glasses still on. The glasses never came off, which is kind of impressive. But if I'm not mistaken, didn't Jay White, when he showed up in AEW, didn't he show up in the middle of a match between Sean Spears and Ricky Starks? Or was it Ricky Starks
showed up?
In the match
He showed
Jay White
up.
was there?
He showed up when Juice Robinson was supposed to fight Ricky Starks. Juice Robinson started it, and then Jay White showed up.
So it does make a little sense that Ricky is there. The Sean Spears part, not really seeing. I mean, I guess they're going to do a tag team thing, or maybe say Spears, or maybe Starks will turn on one or the other, and who knows, they might be part of the new Bullet Club Gold or what have you. But what do you guys think of that segment?
Okay, so first of all, does everyone agree that Sean Spears would be a great addition to the new Bullet Club?
Concur.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So hopefully this is all a swerve where, like you said, maybe you step a tag team match down the line with Sean and Ricky against the Bullet Club, and then Sean Spears turns on him, and and he joins or whatever. Okay, great. My main issue with this match is that you've got Commander, your newest signing, who's great. He's a great superstar, can do some amazing things in the ring, and you would think that you would want to show that off and let him get a win. And instead, they put him against Jay White in his debut match. And I think that was the worst booking decision for those guys. You put them against someone they can win against. You put Jay White against someone who can take a loss, in Hanaco, or hell, where was Peter Avalon? Where was Captain Sean Dean? Put him against one of those guys. Someone, just a throwaway wrestler, just to give them a chance to kind of show off what they can do and introduce themselves to the audience. Hey, for those who don't know, I'm Commander, and this is what I can do, and then you have them win. For those who don't know, I'm Switchblade Jay White. Here's what I can do, and you have them win. You don't sacrifice one of your newest top guys that you're trying to get over just to put over someone else. I think it was a very bad booking decision to put those two in a match together. Was it a good match? Yeah, it was an awesome match. It was an incredible match. But I don't like the fact that Commander had to lose. And you couldn't have Jay White lose. So that was a lose-lose situation there as far as booking goes.
And let me add something to that. You could have saved that for a later time.
Exactly. After you've established them. Yes.
Absolutely. And also, the spear from Ricky Starks kind of reminded me of when Drew McIntyre was trying to build himself to be a face, hitting a Claymore kick, and then afterwards did a kip up, and he bragged about not even dropping the microphone, which also was impressive. Now, I've been wondering where Shawn Spears was at all this time, but I think we all have noticed he's going back to the whole perfect 10 thing all over again.
Yeah, which I mean, if it works, it works. My issue with Shawn Spears, my issue again was just with the booking of that match, especially when you're trying to establish Commander, and he was hitting moves on Jay White that would have won the match for any other wrestler. He had a top rope
I
Phoenix
should have won the match
splash.
with any other wrestler.
He did the rope walk shoot. I mean, he was doing some incredible things, and then Jay White just kicked it out of him. And when he goes and does it against the next guy, it's not going to look as good because Jay White kicked out of it. So how is he going to top that? These are two of his signature moves. You're trying to establish this guy as, hey, you need to watch this guy. When this guy comes to your TV, you need to watch Commander. Well, Commander just lost in his first big match, in AEW. And he lost. Didn't he lose against someone else recently? Was it Kenny Omega or someone else he fought? So I haven't seen him win.
It was Omega.
Yeah, he hadn't won in AEW. So why do I want to watch this guy just because he does a few flips? Whereas if you establish him as a winner and as a top contender, then yeah, you're going to draw in some viewership.
Shawn Spears is another one of those guys that's like floating out on an island. So I think his wife had a baby. That might be why he disappeared for a little bit.
I think so.
When we went to All Out, and was that 2019? He had the whole chairman gimmick thing where he had Cody with a chair and wrestled Cody, and he was like kind of not really a main eventer, but he was up there in the mid card status. And now he just kind of disappeared. He was in the Pinnacle for a while, and that kind of dissolved, and now he's just kind of out. So I think, yeah, definitely he could use that rub from being with the Bullet.
Yeah, Shawn Spears is one of those guys where we were upset because I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Good man, go ahead. I'm finished.
He was one of those guys where we were upset because we felt he was being wasted. He was real big in NXT, and then when he got moved up to the main roster, they weren't doing anything with him. So when he came to AEW, we thought, oh yeah, they're finally going to do something with him, and he's finally going to get a chance to be a star. And
he was with Tony when he started, and
yeah, and we really thought they were going to push him, but he's with Tully. Wow,
yeah, he's one of those guys definitely that I could see if the way you book that match, him turning on Starks and then being the third member of the Bullet Club Gold or whatever.
It's kind of like the same sad song, and it kind of reminds me of pre-NWA Damian Sandow, where you could give him even the dumbest thing and he's just going to turn it into gold, and you're wondering, okay, when are you finally going to elevate him to that main event level? And then all of a sudden you just throw it away and just don't do anything.
Yeah, because with Shawn Spears, the chairman thing could have worked. He just goes around injuring people. He could have been one of the top heels in the company because he's a threat at that point, and they just kind of just stopped it.
And he had some good theme music too.
Yeah, and then they had him join the Pinnacle, and I think, okay, so they're going to do something with him, and he did nothing in the Pinnacle, nothing. Yeah. I think he was the most worthless member of that group, which is sad.
Not to mention the biggest waste of FTR's time.
I mean, he's got so much talent. He's so good in the ring, and they just wasted him.
He's got a good look too, man. I mean,
yeah, he does.
The haircut, and he's built real well, and he's not a terrible wrestler either.
Good on the mic.
Yeah. So
there's no reason for him to have not held, the TNT title at some point. Because we're just giving it away anyway.
Like AEW just has a curse of like a lot of really good resources. It's like any oil-rich country, they're gonna, eventually have issues because they got just too much resources, too much good stuff. You need to have a solid plan of how to deal with it. That's solid booking. That's solid long-term planning. That's realizing if we've got two hot new stars, recent signees, don't have one match with both of them. That's two separate big attractions you could have. Those
at least not in their debut matches. Later down the line, not
like a pay-per-view.
Yeah, or even not even that. 2 or 3 months from now on Dynamite, it'll be a great main event, but not in their debut matches.
They need more airtime, I think. Aren't they going to have are they going to have Rampage and a Saturday show, or is Rampage going to become the Collision show? Is that how, or is there going to be two separate
I think the rumor says they're going to have Collision, but I mean, which also doesn't make sense because you got a whole nother roster. You got Ring of Honor that's not even on television, so you give another hour of television to AEW instead of Ring of Honor.
Well, Ring of Honor's huge.
Because the issue is, I don't think the issue is so much not having enough time. I think it's not using the time that they have wisely.
I think that's right.
Yes.
They don't and you have AEW Dark, which is on strictly on YouTube, and you hardly hear them talking about it on the shows.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Dark and Elevation Dark, right? There's two shows. Correct?
Yeah, Elevation, either one of those.
Yeah.
Which is supposed to be your NXT, if you will, of your development. So these are supposed to be your stars that as soon as they're TV ready, you bring them up.
I watched Dark the other day and Juice Robinson was on. It's like, yeah, I'm with you. Like the Ring of Honor guys maybe should be on there or something. Or the guys they're trying to build up, not Juice Robinson or these guys that are already established.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll definitely see how this plays out. But yeah, it's yet again another not quite sure move by Tony in booking all the way around with everyone involved in that match. Period. Next, we have a backstage segment with FTR being interviewed by Renee Paquette, and she shows them a video of Mark Briscoe being attacked. He's in the locker room. They go in there, and of course, Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett are in there. Actually, Mark Briscoe was attacked by Varsity Club, and so basically, Mark wanted, since the doctor said he couldn't wrestle, he wanted FTR and Lethal and Jarrett to team up to go get revenge. Very random, but kind of see where they may go with that. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think I see where they're going. It is kind of random, but I mean it'll lead to some good matches down the line. It could be interesting. It's kind of early to judge that particular angle. I'm going to see where they're going to go. Let's see what they do next week. It's still kind of early on that one.
At least there's some logic in that. There was something on camera that led to the tag teams.
There is some logic, but I too am going to reserve my right to judgment here because I always feel anything can work if you book it right. Yeah. But that's the problem with Tony Khan. You don't always book it right. So this could work. You could get some good matches out of it, but also you could get some matches that are amazingly bad, which the matches themselves will never be an issue. It's just, how do you put it together?
Calvin, what do you think?
I think it's really the core thing. Again, I don't want to make it seem like we're jumping all over him because, we definitely have issues with WWE booking, but I think certainly with Triple H in charge, we've seen the benefits of just longer term booking, long-term planning, giving people strategic amount of airtime, and not always even giving the fans exactly what they want up front when they want it. Like, draw that money out. All right, we're not going to get the big, match of the two new stars up front, but let's spread it out. Eventually, they'll get the payoff, but where we see interest, let's make it more interesting and kind of draw it out and give it more screen time.
Definitely. It'd be, like you said, Calvin, just give this things more light on screen and then look to see where this could go. But still, the fact that Jeff Jarrett is in a position to wrestle at his age is still, I know a lot of people don't like him, but I still think pairing him with Lethal has been good so far, and I think that will produce some great matches down the line, for sure. Next, we have the segment with Adam Cole being back confronting Chris Jericho. Of course, Cole being from the area, definitely got a huge pop, and of course, they go back and forth, and it's one of those things you never want to meet your heroes. And this led to the rest of Jericho Society, Appreciation Society, coming down, beating down on Cole. And the person who comes to help is, of all people, Britt Baker. And of course, she slaps Jericho, and then for some reason, the Outcast comes out. So a kendo stick is introduced. Cole is, handcuffed to the rope, thinking he's going to get hit with the kendo stick, and Jericho gives a stick to Saraya, and she starts wailing on Britt Baker. I see where this is going, or I can't say I see. It kind of gives a thing of like what Judgment Day did to Edge and Beth Phoenix, just a tiny bit. And then, of course, now you have two quote unquote factions actually joining up together. So, is this the possible start of maybe something else going on, not just with Jericho versus Cole, but maybe Cole bringing back, Kyle O'Reilly being back healthy? Maybe Bobby Fish decides to make a return, or, something like that, to where now you can have group on group. So, what do you guys think about that?
Well, you could do a lot with Adam Cole because he's Bullet Club baby, and he's elite. And I see where you're going. Yeah, so definitely. Did you see Britt Baker's eye next
Yeah,
day?
I saw that
Ugh.
on
She did catch
Instagram.
one.
Yeah.
She caught one. Yeah.
Did she catch the kendo stick in the face, or did Jericho hit her in the face? Or one of them
I think
hit
it was a kick. I think it was with a kick when she was on the ground and they were pummeling her. I think she might have caught someone in the eye for sure.
That's a complete, chicken, what heel move to handcuff a guy and then beat his woman. I thought Jericho was going to smack her maybe, or that would have been monster heat if he power drove or something. But I guess
Well, the fact that they both did it in Pittsburgh with two people who are very beloved in the area,
Yeah.
that draws major heat. And
That's
not
what we were
only
talking
that,
about
I
earlier.
think that heat carries over. It wasn't just a hometown; it was a homer thing, but that type of heat will carry over
Yeah, because
into to going down the line.
both of them are beloved. Adam Cole, baby,
Yeah.
just came back, and then Britt's just over with the crowd.
Now here's my issue with that segment, and this is one of the few ones where the issue isn't so much the booking; it was the execution. We've seen this before. We saw Randy Orton handcuff Triple H, and then he RKO'd Stephanie. And when you saw that, you felt for Triple H. You wanted to see him get revenge. We saw Judgment Day hold down Edge, and then they injured Beth Phoenix, and that gave sympathy to Edge and Beth, and you want your revenge. Thinking this, I didn't get that same feeling. It's like they could have done more with it. First of all, you got two hometown heroes. I would have made this the closing segment of the show. I would have had your main event match and then had this. That way it ends with a cliffhanger. What's going to happen with Britt? Secondly, I would have, I don't know, a few kendo stick shots, and that was it. Show the injury. Push those kendo stick shots, because I'm sure they don't feel like you're being hit with cotton candy. I'm sure they sting and they leave marks. Show the marks. So they could have beat her a bit more. They could have, brought in chairs, put her through a something. I mean, take Britt out. That's what I'm saying. Just take her out. Have the Outcast injure her, because you had the Outcast lose earlier. They're losing their credibility as a threat. So do something to make them a threat again.
Like add a finisher on a chair or something to that nature.
Yeah, they just hit her with a kendo stick a few times, and that was it. I would have done a bit more, and then have the fans thinking, "Oh no, she's hurt," and then you end the show there, and you have to wait a whole week to see what happened to Britt Baker. That it builds up that anxiety and what's happening to our hero. And instead, it was done like a throwaway segment. Like they beat her a few times. They go to the back, and then we go to the Acclaim. I mean, they didn't go to a commercial or anything. They didn't go to the next promo like nothing happened.
And no one came out to save them, did they? Where's Jamie?
No.
Well,
now Hayter was injured earlier in the night.
Yeah, I could understand
with
that.
the tag match. So
yeah, or you could have said, she was, locked in her dressing room in the back or something. I don't know. The Outcast could have done something to her. But the main thing is getting the heat when your babyface is getting hurt, and I don't think they got enough. I don't think they took advantage of the opportunity and used it to the best of their ability.
Why not have Keith went out there and save Adam Cole after they were like talking to each other the week before? That just vanished into thin air.
Yeah. And so I will agree with Clinton. I would like to see more violence against women on my TV.
No, wait a minute.
I don't know if I would. Hey, hold
I
on.
think
The views of Calvin are not
No,
reflected by the rest of the members of Ringside right
I
now.
agree because I agree with his actual point. His
Oh,
actual
the-
point being, this is something that could have been and should have been really a lot more of like an emotionally intensive thing.
Yeah,
And the fact
that's
they
what I'm
do
saying.
that and then just kind of walk away like nothing happened. Like this is a big deal. Like Britt Baker, his wife, has got beaten in front of him. There should be like bloodthirsty violence and anger coming up from this. They should have had that be the last segment. You end the show, you're like mad, and
Yeah.
that
You know
energy
what?
carries on to the next
Kind
week.
of, I'm not going to say I'm all for violence against women, but she should have bled. I mean, Britt bled before.
Yeah, she's a John Mox.
She has bled before. Yeah,
You know,
some John Moxley
she
style
should.
bleeding. She's
Yeah,
done before.
yeah. I mean, not that much blood, but some blood. You
Oh.
know, even a trickle would have done the job for me.
That would have made you more emotionally invested in it. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Did they go to the Acclaimed right after that without even commercial?
Right after.
Oh my
yes.
They had
gosh.
a small
after.
commercial break.
I love the Acclaim, but
and then they go to
no,
the Acclaim.
that wasn't the way to
That
go.
wasn't the Acclaim's fault. That was the plan of the show. That was booking fault. It's like, oh no, look at Britt. Okay, let's go to the Acclaim, and they're back there rapping and getting ready for their match.
It's like WWE has the long-term storylines. AEW has an amnesia booking. It's like,
exactly.
hey, what happened last week? Who cares? This is what's happening this week.
Like, how did he even get free? Like, I just kind of went back through to see.
Yeah,
They go to commercial and he's just like, there's out of the ring and gone. Like,
yeah.
who had the handcuff key? They come back out
They
like,
should have gone to commercial and they
my
come
bad,
back.
bro.
Have Penta come save him. It doesn't make any damn sense. But anyway, you know what I'm saying? It's just like,
I mean, since Penta's out, just hanging around the back,
whatever.
He's out.
Crazy. Just have him come out every match. Just whatever. It's like, where's Walter? Where's Penta? Go ahead, Pierre.
Yeah. I mean, now hearing you guys talk about it, I agree. Yeah, it definitely needed something more emotional attached to it to kind of sucker you in. Even though I felt like the heat that the Pittsburgh, fans threw on that segment, it's not quite nuclear, but it's definitely there to carry over to the next segment. But the placement and maybe a little bit more, yeah, I see you guys' point. It could have been more to make it really be nuclear heat as opposed to just, maybe white hot, if you will.
And here's the thing, I had no issue with the rest of the show because after that we had the Acclaim tag match and we had the main event and both of those were great. I hope Jack Perry finally after he got dropped on his head. But the rest of the show was wrestling and wrestling wise, it was great. I just will change that story and like I said, we'll put it at the end of the show and put more heat on it, put more gravity on the moment and stuff. Well, here's a beat down. Okay, here's our next match.
And it's at me, or is the Jericho Appreciation Society just a very watered down version of the Inner Circle?
Yeah, they are. I was really hoping it was going to. I was hoping it was going to kind of push those guys and elevate them. It helped Daniel Garcia, I will say that. But
definitely
2.0, they look like it's a bunch of jobbers and Jake Hager just collecting a paycheck.
Jake Hager, like what? It's like, yeah. What? Speaking of Sean, at least Spears has some charisma. Hager doesn't even have charisma.
Well, I mean, you have certain guys that they just need a mouthpiece regardless. I mean, some guys are just straight up they can wrestle, but that's it. Yeah. It's the real special ones that can carry the mic, do awesome on the mic and also carry a match.
Yeah.
And we've seen that through history that, when you talk about someone like Ric Flair, even guys like Cena, things like that where guys can really just The Rock, Stone Cold, well, more so Stone Cold, at least technical wise, can carry a match. But even still, it's rare to find someone to do that. But at some point, you got to have somewhat of ability to speak on the mic, and Hager definitely does not have that skill set.
Maybe he's another guy they need to put in the club line or whatever they're going to call it. I don't know. Gold.
No, he can stay with Jericho. I don't want him in a Bullet Club. Let him stay with Jericho. Can have him.
I mean, the guy can wrestle. He's got an MMA background. It's not like he's not talented.
Not questioning that.
Exactly. Clint's kind of already touched on the rest of the card and basically what's happened with, especially with Sammy Guevara taking out the Acclaim, taking a victory over the Jericho Appreciation Society. So therefore they don't have to join JAS. And then also with Sammy Guevara, thanks to some help from MJF, uh basically pulling out the win to face Darby Allin next week to see who will face MJF at Double or Nothing. But overall, guys, we know the main criticism we've had of Tony is the randomness of the booking. So, what are some suggestions outside of what we've already touched on throughout the booking of this show? What in general do you think will be the biggest asset for Tony for him booking going forward?
A booking committee. Stop trying to book it all for yourself. If I'm running a major wrestling company, I think I've got great ideas. I've been watching wrestling for years. I'm a big fan. I love wrestling, and I think I can book some great matches and some decent storylines. But I also need help from people who have been in this longer than I have. Tony is a guy. He's a fan off the streets who bought a wrestling company. He doesn't. He needs to surround himself with a committee of people who know how the psychology works, who know how to draw money, how to get people to want to watch your show, want to pay money to come see your show, and how to put it all together and not just put together great matches. Can he put together great matches? Yeah. Can he find talent? Yeah. Can he book a storyline with the damn? Absolutely not. You got Don Callis there. He's got decades of experience behind the scenes. You got Arn. I don't know if Tully's still with the company. You've got veterans back there, and even some of the active guys, you got guys who know how to book a story and how to draw it out and how to make compelling television besides just in the ring action. And I don't feel like he's using those resources.
Absolutely. And
it's a
he
waste.
also, yeah, and I'm gonna add to that. He needs people to give him multiple angles to all those elements you just said, because it's one thing you can still be a good booker, but you may have 2 or 3 people who may be thinking in some ways that you didn't even consider or you don't know about.
Exactly.
So have that.
I come up with a storyline. I say, hey, I want Sean Spears and an angle with Warlow where he does this. And then Pierre says, hey, that's great. Why don't we have this in there? And we go, okay, yeah, that's great. And then Jonathan goes, why don't we have this in there? And then we can go, well, let's take Jonathan's idea and take a bit of Pierre's idea, and then Curtis adds something, Calvin adds something, and then you've got a great storyline rather than just one guy trying to do it all. Especially when this one guy isn't someone who has years of experience in wrestling. If Paul Heyman by himself came to me and said, "This is how I want to book this angle," I'm going to go with what Paul Heyman says. If Jim Cornette, love him or hate him, comes to me and says, hey, this is how we're going to book his angle, then I agree with them. Or Michael Hayes, or hell, even Mark Henry, or anyone who's had some time in the business. But just some guy off the street, or just one wrestling writer or what have you said, this is how we want to book this. Well, I think I want other ideas in there with it, and other guys with more experience to kind of add to that.
Yeah, and then one guy trying to do it all, you're going to wear yourself out over time. Exactly. It can never get done. It's a team sport.
Yeah, and it's not like they don't have experienced people. Like you were saying, Arn, Malenko's a producer, Jerry Lynn, Taz. I mean, you've got resources to use.
Hell, even Tony Schiavone. You got Jim Ross.
You got
Jim Ross back there. What are you doing with Jim Ross?
Yeah. So it's not like they don't have people to poll or to. I don't know how the things run because we're not there, but it seems to me that it's Tony's whatever. It's like that movie, The Toy, with Richard Pryor. He was some kid's whatever. Well, this is the real life. Tony got his dad bought him. His dad's a multi-billionaire. It's a soccer team and everything else, and the Jaguars. It's like, here you go. Here's a toy for you to play with. Which once again, we're not debating the the pay-per-views are great. The matches are fantastic.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
I just like the payoff that this bloodline thing. I want to see how the bloodline thing is going to end, or how Cody's run is going to end. That long, because we grew up with that long-term storytelling. It's this amnesia booking where here comes Penta running out. Why is he, like you're talking about? Everybody gives your ideas, and you're like, why? Why are we doing this? What's the payoff?
You know what Tony needs to do? He needs to look at the reactions to his matches. He's listening to the AEW and holy shit, and that this is awesome, and that's great during the match, and then after the match, you get a polite clap, great match, okay. Whereas for WWE, you've got a build up through the match, okay, good match, okay, great match, okay, now we're excited, and then after the match, you've got either people screaming for joy or they're down on their knees crying because, the result, because they're invested in that story. There's emotion involved, and there's no emotion involved with the stories and with the matches in AEW. They're just matches.
So, to my point, and to kind of piggyback off of what you were saying, emotion of any storyline can add to a match. It's almost like a good TV show. You already got the gist of the storyline. You know why this guy can't stand the other guy, or you care that, okay, I want to see this guy get his comeuppance. You're invested now. You are telling more, and then you're telling other people, hey, this is happening. You should check this out. And then they catch up. And then, especially with the way WWE sometimes will have their recaps, you're caught up. You already know what's going on. You know why this is going to happen or why this could happen. And AEW needs more of that. They need to continue to add to their storylines and just extend it out and make us care. Make us let us know, why should we care that this is happening instead of just a good match, instead of just throwing a title into it.
Doesn't AEW only have like four? Like, remember back in the day where there were 4 major WWE pay-per-views every year? Doesn't AEW have like 4 pay-per-views a year, basically?
Yeah,
no?
they do. But you don't need, a ton of them.
And shouldn't they build stuff up for 3 months before there's a? I mean, doesn't
exactly. That's the point. That's the idea.
By the way, good work, comeuppance. That would be a good name for a faction or pay-per-view.
Yeah, that would be. That'll work.
WrestleMania, comeuppance.
So
In the Blood Money Stadium in Saudi Arabia.
What do you think, Calvin, as far as Tony's booking choice practices, I should say?
I mean, just get some help. You can't be a fan and try to book from the perspective of a fan. You have to be a business person, and you've got you have to get veterans who've been doing this for a while successfully. Hell, get some like third-party people. Get some like reality TV, some non-wrestling people to just help you kind of do a high-level look through in booking. You've got really unique talent. You've got something totally different in terms of your roster from what the competition has. Use that to your advantage and come up with something that is different and unique. Have these big, massive, overarching storylines, this long-term history of stuff, and do it in a unique way. Don't just do it as a fan based on what you've seen and what you already like. Do it from a, let's be unique, let's be, explosive, let's be Dynamite and do something different here.
Dynamite.
You know what? It's kind of like me running the draft for the Steelers on this next week. Hey, I'm a fan. I know what I'm doing. Let's draft a quarterback or whatever. We don't need a quarterback. It's like, what is Bischoff doing? Couldn't he hire Bischoff to be a consultant? I think he knows what he's doing. I mean,
I think Bishop was on the staff for a second, but I think he left because him and Tony couldn't see eye to eye on some things. So,
they could not.
Avenues he could do, I would think. To me, I mean, like Calvin, there's lots of talent there. There's no lack of talent. They have great wrestlers and a lot. I mean, and even another guy we forgot about, Christian Cage. I'm sure he knows how to book. I mean, he's a veteran. Guys like that, they got plenty of avenues and resources. And competition is great. We need more than one company, and guys need more. have a job. I like it. I like all wrestling.
Absolutely.
Not a snob. Like, oh well, some of these people are like, oh, I like WWE. You're a mark because you like AEW. I like all wrestling. I love
Exactly.
New Japan, which has great storylines, by the way.
Right.
I've seen a lot of impact. But the impact that I've seen hasn't been terrible. So in Ring of Honor before it folded was fantastic. I loved it. It's like competition is great for the market and it's great for us.
And variety.
Yeah, exactly.
Now,
So I want AEW to
now I
flourish.
want, yeah, I want you guys to follow me with this, and just out of the blue, doesn't AEW have a semi-slight feel to how WCW was back in the day during the Monday Night Wars, as far as the in-action wrestling, especially like the luchadors and things like that, were the main things that were like carrying the action, but the storylines were kind of stagnant or kind of like not
Yeah,
really into it. Doesn't that kind of give you that type of feel of what's going on with
yeah,
AEW?
because they pushed the cruiserweights real heavily back
Not
then.
exactly, because they did have interesting storylines. Before it got stale and bloated, the NWO was an interesting storyline.
Mhm.
Hogan turning heel, was the big thing that started that next major wrestling boom. It wasn't an issue with their storylines. Um, it just, after a while, the storylines got silly and they got stupid. But at least they had storylines. AEW doesn't really have storylines that I can point to and say, "Hey, this is what's going on right now in
And they
AEW."
and they had Ralphus.
May he rest in peace.
Hey, I like Ralphus.
I loved Ralphus. He was awesome.
Ralphus and Jericho is hilarious, but it's an angle. It's a storyline. It's more than what AEW has right now. They don't have a storyline I can point to go, "Hey, I'm going to watch for that." They got a couple of guys I want to watch for. The MJF thing is great, but there's no real storyline where I have to watch to see what's going to happen next with this. With WWE, they got the bloodline. I want to watch and see what happens with the bloodline. They don't have something close to that, at least, that's going to grab your interest and your attention, your emotions, and pull you along for the ride. It's just good matches, and that's it.
We haven't even talked about if Punk is coming back or not, and how that's going to stir the pot
That's a whole other conversation.
Oh, buddy.
for another.
Exactly. So we're kind of in an agreement that Tony just basically needs to use his resources at hand to basically start a booking committee, because you already got guys who are working on the finishes. So just have somebody now. You have guys working on, the actual stories to make us fully invested the way we're
Yes,
invested
put it
in the
in a
storylines
direction.
in WWE.
Yeah,
I mean, it's nothing wrong with having the final say. You just don't have to write everything down. I mean, you don't have to run everything.
yeah,
Captains on ships, they have co-pilots and things like that. Yeah, you got one guy making the final decision, but you don't have to do everything.
I mean,
exactly.
even Dusty, when Dusty was booking in WCW, he had a booking committee, didn't he?
Yeah,
Yep,
that
and
was,
I believe it was Marvel vs. Capcom 3 where Black Panther said it best. If a ruler does not see where he must change, he is no longer fit to run his kingdom. So you see where you need to change. Just make the changes. You got the resources to do it. Just use those resources, and the changes are common.
I like
Well,
the deep
You're
cut
definitely
you got from Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and the toy. I think
why do I have Man in the Mirror playing in my head now? Make that change.
there's some.
yeah,
I think it's time to really take this whole AEW thing on a ride. I really want Tony Khan and Nick Khan to kind of just really innovate in their respective different companies and just take it all for a ride.
oh,
That's,
Bonding
it's,
experience.
it's
that's what we
yeah,
want at the end. You want to have
the
that
wrath of
ride.
the cons, if you will.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, but we want that ride. We want to be able to look back and say, hey, remember when this happened, that led to this, and that, and it was, and then the finish was something that's just iconic. That's what you want.
Right.
That's what you want to be able to remember as a fan.
It's like, okay, we got 3 more pay-per-views coming up, right? Double or Nothing, Forbidden Door, and then the giant Wembley, whatever, coming up. So, yeah, I mean, I hope we're all wrong and everything pays off and it's awesome, but it's just like it seems to me it's a
I
giant.
hope so because I want Wembley to, if not sell out, I want them to
Yeah.
be. I want them to fill that place up. I really want All In and Wembley to succeed and to blow away everyone's expectations. I really do. I just want to say it's a new day in wrestling, but not with this
Yes, it
booking.
is.
Yes, it is.
You beat me to it.
That's right.
Burn.
So, everybody, you tell us what you think about our opinions of Tony Khan and what's your opinions of Tony Khan and how it's been booking AEW. So be sure to leave a comment below. Be sure to click that like button, subscribe, as well as hit the notification button so you'll know when we upload new videos. And Clint, let them know where they can find us on IG.
Oh, we're at Ringside right now on IG.
You're right. And Jonathan, where can they find you and Bella?
I'm at Nuxie and Wadi's World of Wonder. Come on over. We got lots of Bella.
Of course, as always, for the crew, Calvin, Clint, Curtis, and Jonathan, I am Pierre, and this has been Ringside Right Now. Ring the bell, Russ.
Love you, fellas.